The correct definition of a safe forced landing is an inevitable landing on land or sea from which one may reasonably expect no injuries on board or on the surface. On overwater flights, an operator shall not operate an aeroplane at a distance away from land which is suitable for making an emergency landing greater than that corresponding to 400 nautical miles or 120 minutes at cruising speed. In the case of ditching, the cabin attendants will have the passengers embark directly into the life rafts, prevent passenger movements which may impede the aeroplane's flotation ability, and ensure the complete evacuation of the aeroplane. In accordance with Part Cat, and if necessary, the number of life rafts to be found on board an aircraft must allow the transportation of the entire aircraft occupants in the case of the loss of one raft of the largest rated capacity. In accordance with Part Cat, and with the exception of amphibious and hydroplanes, the carriage of a life jacket per person on board is compulsory when the aeroplane is flying over a water surface at more than 50 nautical miles from shore, or using departure and arrival paths above the water, and a ditching probability exists in the case of a problem. In a ditching situation, the passenger life jackets will be inflated when leaving the aeroplane. A turboprop aeroplane is performing an overwater flight which takes it further than 340 nautical miles away from an aerodrome where an emergency landing could be performed. Normal cruising speed is 180 knots. One engine out airspeed is 155 knots. Life jackets must be available for all occupants. There are 60 passengers and crew members on board a turboprop aircraft. Speed is 240 knots. At a point along the route above the sea, the aircraft is 1 hour 45 minutes away from an aerodrome suitable for an emergency landing. The minimum equipment complying with regulations is 60 life jackets and 3 30-seat life rafts. An operator shall not operate an aircraft certificated to CS-25 large aeroplanes across an area in which search and rescue would be especially difficult, without survival equipment if it flies away from an area suitable for making an emergency landing at a distance greater than 90 minutes at cruising speed. The pyrotechnic means used in case of an emergency to indicate your position to the emergency teams is a flare to be used at night and a smoke device which is used in the daytime. In accordance with Part Cat, an aeroplane composed of only one passenger deck, equipped with 61 seats and effectively carrying passengers, must be equipped with one megaphone. A public address system is required to operate an aeroplane whose maximum authorized passenger seating capacity is greater than 19. It must be audible and intelligible at all passenger seats, the toilets, workstations, and cabin crew seats. Following an emergency landing which will need an escape from the aircraft, you should remain on the runway and turn off all systems. Information concerning evacuation procedures can be found in the operations manual. The emergency lighting system must be able to function and supply a certain level of lighting after the main electric power system has been cut off for at least 10 minutes. The number of spare fuses usable in flight available on board the aeroplane must be 10% of the number of fuses of each rating, with a minimum of 3. In an emergency or precautionary landing, the safety position for adults is seat belts fastened, head placed on a knee cushion, arms around the thigh. The position to be adopted by the passengers sitting in the travelling direction in the event of an emergency landing are legs together and feet flat on the floor, seat belts tightly fastened, head resting on the forearms. With regard to the number of emergency exits on an aircraft, there must be enough emergency exits to allow all passengers and all crew members to leave the aeroplane within 90 seconds through 50% of the available emergency exits. For aeroplanes having a seating capacity of more than 44 passengers, it must be shown by actual demonstration that the maximum seating capacity, including the required number of crew members, can be evacuated from the aeroplane to the ground in 90 seconds. An exit is considered to be out of service when the following elements are inoperative: the external internal door opening mechanism, the door opening aid device, the emergency lighting, the door locking system, or the auxiliary means of evacuation are unserviceable. Some emergency exits must be equipped with devices to help the occupants get out and reach the ground safely if the threshold sill height is at a height above the ground greater than 6 feet, 1.83 metres, from the ground with the landing gear extended.